I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of Tinley Park to order. Let the record reflect that it's Thursday, November 12th, 2020 at 7 p.m. As a preliminary matter, this Zoning Board Chairperson, Steve Sepisi, speaking. Before we get started, I would ask that anyone joining us remotely please be patient and respectful as we navigate this meeting remotely. I would appreciate if you would each mute your phones when you're not speaking. Thank you. For those wishing to follow along with the PowerPoint, you are encouraged to access the meeting through the Tinley Park television on the YouTube. It is my understanding that all members and staff present have checked in on the conference line and that we can begin our meeting now. Please note, throughout the meeting, we expect to have other individuals joining us via phone pertaining to their specific agenda items. Introduction to the remote meeting is simple. Again, we thank you in advance for your patience and cooperation throughout tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, which is convening remotely via conference call. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Disaster Proclamation and Public Act number 101-0640, which amends the requirements of the Open Meeting Act due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Open Meeting Act, OMA, requires public bodies to allow for public content or comments. Therefore, this meeting will include public comment via the established protocol. Even if members of the public do not provide comments, participants are advised that people may be listening who do not provide comments, and those persons are not required to identify themselves. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating via web audio conference. Okay, the meeting business ground rules are the following. Before turning to the first item on the agenda, allow me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. As chairperson, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. As they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions or motions. Please hold your comments until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone when you are not speaking. Please also start your comments with your name. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through me, first identifying yourself and then making your request. Commission Secretary Barbara, would you please take the roll?
Paschek.
Paschek here remotely.
Vargas.
Vargas here remotely.
Bettenhausen. Chairman Sepisi.
Remotely, yes.
Okay.
Let me now begin with the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th, 2020 meeting?
Commissioner Paschek, so moved.
Commissioner Vargas, I second the motion.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Paschek and seconded by Commissioner Vargas. I will ask for a voice vote. Are there any opposed to this motion? Hearing none, the motion is carried. So item 1 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing regarding 8350 Cloverview Drive. Orlando and Olivia Alvarez are the owners, and this is a fence variation request. This evening, we have a public hearing requested by the petitioners, Orlando and Olivia Alvarez, for a variation from Section 3.J of the Zoning Code fence regulation at the property located at 8350 Cloverview Drive in the R3 single-family residential zoning district. This variation would permit the petitioner to install a 6-foot-high solid privacy fence to encroach 24 feet into the required secondary front yard. Before we proceed, I'd like to note that I have confirmation of the public hearing notice, and I did receive that. of the public hearing notice of tonight's public hearing being published in the local newspaper as required by state law. At this time, may I have a motion to open the hearing?
Commissioner Vargas, so moved.
Commissioner Poschek, second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Vargas, seconded by Commissioner Paschek. I will ask for a voice vote again. Are there any opposed to this motion? Okay, I'm hearing none, so the motion is carried. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter will be sworn in before they speak after staff presentation. Staff, please go ahead with yours. Dan, are you ready?
Yeah. So this is 8350 Cloverview Drive. As you stated, that's a corner fence variation that they're going to be requesting here. This is a 10,000 square foot corner lot that is 80 feet wide. It's in the Timbers Edge subdivision. It's a newer subdivision built around the 80s or 90s. There is some additional width on these corner lots, so with these newer subdivisions, they build in that additional width because there are these secondary front yard setbacks that reduce some of basically the backyard space. To help compensate for that, we have the extra width kind of built in there on these corner lots. So that doesn't exist in some of the older subdivisions, but it does here with a little bit newer ones. There is an existing deck in the rear yard on this lot. There's also a side door and some windows on the side of the house, that front 84th Avenue. There's been no previous fencing on this lot, and I will note as they were requesting this variation for the fence to extend into the secondary front yard, it still wouldn't be considered a rear yard, so if they want to put any type of garages, sheds, any type of accessory structures or anything in there, they would need a variance to do that as well. So again, here's the image of the house looking from 84th Avenue, where they're looking to run the fence along, and you can see there's with a lot of these variations, we usually have them try and get them to stop them at the back of the house, just from an appearance standpoint, and to kind of reduce where the area that's fenced. So they've moved it up a little further than that here, though, because of that door, and then there's a window as well on this. You can kind of see on the side of the house there. So where the fence, where they're going to propose it, kind of stops, where you kind of see the break in the house there, where it drops from 2 stories to 1 story on the right side of that picture. So, the zoning for this is R3 zoning, which is single-family residential, and that's what surrounds this property. To the north, to the east, and to the south are single-family homes in R3 zoning as well. To the west of this is R3 zoning, but it's the Millennium Elementary School, and there's a parking lot and kind of a one-way circulation drop-off aisle there in front of the school. That's to the west of this. So, as a background to this, there is a recent variation from last year. I think everybody on the zoning board was here for it at that time. And it was on Cloverview Drive, but on the other side of the subdivision. That was at 17500 Cloverview Drive along 175th Street in Cloverview. And so they had a corner fence variation approved that went about halfway towards the front of the house. It was open design and 4-foot maximum height, though, for that one that was approved. So. And that was the petitioner's proposal at the time. They didn't want a 6-foot or solid privacy fence. And so that one was approved in 2019, just bringing that up as a recent kind of similar case that we had. And some of the same arguments for that case will be done by the petitioner here. So what they're looking to do is continue the fence line that basically runs along 84th Avenue. So in a lot of situations, we wouldn't want to see a corner fence extend all the way to the property line or near the property line. The code does allow for up to a 10-foot encroachment, so that in this case it would be 15 feet away from the property line. The code allows that if you do a 4-foot high open design fence. In this case, though, they're looking to do a 6-foot privacy fence, which they would have to set back that full 25 feet, basically where the setback of the home is. So what they're looking to do is avoid basically a 25-foot jog in the fence there at the end of the property line. So this is kind of showing you in the purple line there is kind of existing fence line. The majority of that is privacy, 6-foot privacy fences, and those are all the backs of all those properties, or the rear yard of all those properties that allow for that fence to be there. There are a couple open design fences. There's one that's kind of a nice newer wrought iron style fence that's in the middle of the block. And then just to the north of this property has a 4-foot open design fence. It's a chain link fence that's deteriorating a little bit. It's a little rusty, so that one would probably be replaced in the near future. I don't know what the neighbor's planning on doing, if they're gonna keep a chain link.
I can tell you,
Oh, well,
I'm the neighbor,
okay,
and
well,
those were some questions I had in regards to this when I got the letter.
sure. We'll be able to get to you shortly. And yeah, if you have a plan or something,
Yeah.
and you have some
No
input.
immediate plan on removing the fence, but we can
Sure.
get to it when you're done with your stuff.
Sure, yeah. So the neighbor's here, so he'll be able to let you know. So, and that's just to the north of this property there. And here's kind of a picture of that existing neighborhood. So here's kind of that mixed fence line going down 84th Avenue to the north of the subject property here. Kind of a quick background on corner fence variations in general, because I do this every time, just to make sure that we're covering all our bases, so we're not just running these through. We want to grant variations as little as possible, and only kind of when they really make sense in a unique situation. So for these, again, that code requirement basically says you need to have a fence that's set back to the front setback of your home. We do allow through an administrative variance to kind of allow you to go 10 feet into that, but then you can't go over 4 feet in height, and it would have to be open design. So either chain link, picket style, the wrought iron style fencing, you'd have to do something like that per the code. So, and for any variation, we look at what's the hardship, kind of what's unique about the lot or the layout or the setup of it that kind of says, okay, this kind of makes sense to go above or beyond the code. And just to note that being a corner lot yourself doesn't really make you unique for these corner lot fences, because the code is very specific to corner lots. So just being a corner lot and saying, I want more backyard space, or I want more space for my dog, isn't related to a hardship. So it does need to be related to either the property itself or the surrounding properties that say, here's kind of why I need this. And again, we look at kind of what's unique, what else is out there, and kind of how's it fit into the neighborhood. And again, so as we look at these, every lot, there's a lot of different types of lots out there. There's a lot of different situations that can happen with the way neighborhoods are laid out, especially when it's not just a typical grid. As it doesn't really exist with a lot of our newer subdivisions. They're a little bit more curvilinear streets that have a little bit nicer appearance to them, but they can lead to kind of some odd corner lot situations. So, and some things to think about too are not just what's out there right now, but what can be out there in the future. So can people run a driveway next to where the fence is being proposed, or is there gonna be a sidewalk if it's not there? So we look at those things as well. And then also, with corner lots, one of the biggest things is visibility. So you're looking at visibility to driveways, sidewalks, at intersections. How's that affected? So I'll skip my soapbox there again about variations. So for this one, they're looking for a 6-foot-high solid privacy fence. It would be a PVC fence, which is generally preferred, has been preferred on corner lots because they typically don't require as much maintenance as, say, a wood fence. They don't tend to rust or kind of fall apart, similar to kind of steel fencing or anything like that. So there's not as much maintenance. So these have been the kind of preferred option by the zoning board and the plan commission, for that matter, on fences that are going to have some visibility to them. And any corner fence is going to be fairly visible in a residential subdivision. So this will be located 1 foot from the property line, so it'll be about 2 feet from the sidewalk along 84th Avenue. They're, again, trying to keep that consistent rear yard fence line kind of going down 84th Avenue there, trying to not create either a 15-foot or a 25-foot jog in on that fence line, which is what they'd be able to do by the code requirements now. They've noted that this is a heavier traffic street, so they do get a lot of cars and vehicles, foot traffic down that street as well. And then also the school across the street, kind of with headlights and traffic going in and out of there on school days. So hasn't been an issue right now, but I think we all hope some point here in the near future our schools are going to be back to teaching children every day. So when that was operating, they noted that there is traffic that comes in and out of there at a pretty regular basis. So, and again, the administrative approvals would leave 15 feet on the outside of that fence, and then it wouldn't be a privacy fence as well. So they're really looking for kind of keeping that fence line for appearance reasons, to allow them to use more of the rear yard as a benefit as well, and then also have it be privacy. So that's the petitioner's request there. They typically, again, we have people stop these at the back of the house if at all possible. That just kind of helps with the appearance at the corner. You don't see it as much if you're stopped at the intersections, and that's the preference. With this one, though, they have that side door, so they really want to keep that enclosed behind the fence as well as the window, just for security reasons. And then they've aligned it kind of with that break in the house where they think it'll look like it belongs there kind of the most. So, and so here's the proposal on the survey that shows you where they're kind of looking to place the fence around their property. So they can have a privacy fence for the other portion of the property that's in the rear yard, and the other side yard they can have a 6-foot privacy fence. So we're really just talking about the left side of this, which is the part along 84th Avenue there, where they're looking to do the 6-foot tall privacy fence. And so by the code requirement, they would have to be set back there to the setback of the house. And then looking into this, kind of our main concern, anything beyond just aesthetics and appearance reasons, we want to make sure these are always safe when somebody proposes them. So we went out there to the site to look at kind of make sure the visibility wouldn't be impeded. So we actually visited the site to see if you put up this fence, how it affects the sight lines from the intersection. And if there was any driveways, we look at that too. Here, there's not any driveways along the east side of 84th Avenue, so it wouldn't impede any visibility there. They also wouldn't be allowed to, none of those properties are allowed really a curb cut on 84th Avenue. So there's not any future ability for most of those most of those homes. They'd have to go through a pretty long process, and between the county and the village, I don't think anybody's going to allow for it. So we were just primarily looking for, from the visibility of Cloverview Drive and 84th Avenue, so that intersection there. And so our code has built in basically a 30-foot, it's called a clear vision triangle of no fencing, landscaping, basically anything above 3 feet in height's not really allowed in that. It goes, there's a 50-foot one, but that's really more for if you're two very heavily traveled intersections. So we enforce that at 171st and Harlem or 159th and Harlem. Things where you have two major streets. So the 30-foot has done pretty well for residential areas, as well as if you kind of have a minor residential street that even connects to a heavier traveled road like 84th Avenue, it's that 30-foot. So we've done that here, and that will remain clear of that fence and any other type of landscaping or anything that they're going to have there. We also looked at kind of, if you have a car stopped at the stop sign on Cloverview, what's their visibility range to the vehicles coming down 84th Avenue and vice versa, so the vehicles on 84th Avenue, does their visibility get impaired of a car stopped at that stop sign on Cloverview? So there's over 250 feet. It's closer to about 300, but it was all estimates, so I don't want to lie to you. So that's the more conservative number there at about 250 feet visibility down there before that fence would start getting in the way at closer to 300 feet, so that's about a football field away. So with a car stopped there at the intersection, that's quite a bit of visibility there down the street to be able to stop, react to vehicles, and also vehicles seeing anyone stop there at the stop sign or pulling out. So, and that increases even more. I'll note when I was out there, almost nobody stopped all the way at that stop sign. So that since 84th Avenue has some width to it, most people actually stop on the others, or they might stop at the stop sign, but then they kind of creep up past the crosswalk that's there. So, and that'll even increase your visibility more. So, the moral of this is that we didn't really see any visibility concerns out there with where they're putting the fence, and it does help that it's set back a little bit and not at the front of the house. So if it was at the front of the house, it would start to reduce that visibility a little bit more. So that's why we usually prefer those get pushed all the way back, but they've moved it up a little closer to the front of the house again to get the window and the door there. That's all I have for the staff presentation, so I will send it back to you, Chairperson. We do have a resident here in the audience, just to give you a heads up. So.
Okay, before we go that far, let's check with the commissioners. Commissioner Vargas, do you have any comments or questions for Dan?
No, I do not.
Okay, and Commissioner Pastek, do you have any questions or concerns for Dan?
Just one, if the village has to do work on the sidewalk, tear it up, do the residents, are they affected by the 1 foot or 2 foot distance from the sidewalk? Will these fences have to come down and be replaced?
They could. I mean, if we'd have to replace it, they might. They usually only need about a foot or two, but could we need to take down a fence or something? Yes. Fences are kind of the one thing allowed in an easement, so there is an easement that runs through some of back there. So they could. It's all those fences running along 84th Avenue, though, are allowed to be there up to the property line, though. So it's not uncommon.
Okay.
So there's a 2-foot space between the sidewalk and the fence, is that correct?
Correct. There's usually a foot between the property line and the sidewalk. That's not always the case. I believe it is here, though. And then there'd be another foot till the fence. So.
Commissioner Pasek, anything else?
That's it.
Okay. I only have one quick comment, and that was when I went out to do a drive-by of the property. I was telling Ann and Barbara a little earlier. I went to turn onto Cloverview from 84th Avenue and almost got run over by the car behind me. So 84th Avenue is enough of a major road where traffic moves fast. So, all right. Well, having completed the staff report, well, I understand we have an audience member that'd like to speak. If we can have them come up to the microphone and give their name, and we'll get them sworn in.
My name is Thomas Shergin, and I'm the resident and the owner of the property just adjacent to where the fence is going to be put up.
Okay, Mr. Shergin, would you raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give at this commission meeting will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, well then thank you. Can we hear your comments now, please?
Yeah, I mainly came just for clarification on the drawing that I received in the mail. And on the northeast corner of this, it's my understanding they want to encompass this whole backyard, going from what we just talked about on 84th Avenue, meet my property line, which I assume is, it's the chain link fence that Dan was talking about. I wanted to clarify, it's not rusted, it's brown coated. It's a brown coated metal. Actually, if this fence does go up, there's no doubt in my mind, I may change something with that fence along the fence that they put up. The northeast corner, the northeast corner of the fence, I wanted to be clear if it encompasses the utility boxes there, or are the utility boxes being fenced out for access?
They are, from what I've seen, they're proposing to put them into their property, because I believe they're in the easement. If somebody does fence them out, then they have to do a removable panel, and it's indicated on the fence panel as removable. So we do allow people to fence them out, but then they either have to put a gate or a removable fence.
And what I'm asking is, they're actually fencing it into their property, or no, they're leaving it out of the property?
From what they've shown,
I didn't understand what the notation was on the northeast corner there.
I think that's just the width that's highlighted there. So that's, or like 75 feet is the total feet across there.
Oh,
So
I see.
They're showing.
No, but they're showing, it says IRON something right up there in the,
Oh, that's iron rod, so that's like where the fence line is.
Oh,
They
okay.
say where they put
Yeah.
those in the property line. So they've shown it fenced in. That's not really part of the variance. They could, if they decided to, they could fence it outside of it.
Okay.
But then they have to put in a gate. or a
so,
panel.
right, if
And
it's,
for you,
if it's,
you can run a fence right on the line.
because I know that, my cable and my phone are run from that box. So I just, if anything, if I needed service, if they do incorporate this within their backyard with the fence around it, they do have to have an access
Correct.
for utility.
Correct, yep. And it's
Okay.
in an easement, so it always allows access there.
Okay.
But yes, you have to have a gate or something for somebody to get access to it, because Comcast, or if it's an electrical box, ComEd, they need to get access. So we
Correct.
require, if you fence it out, you have to
Okay.
allow some ability for someone to get access to it.
I also like to know, as far as where my existing fence is there anything that says they have to be so far away from it, or can they build right up on top of the fence line? Are we sharing a line together?
There is a line, I mean, it's like almost an invisible line, or think of like a floss line, so they
Uh-huh.
can go back to back on the fences.
Okay. Okay.
Or sometimes it's good to talk to your neighbor and see if you want to take down your fence and just share the fence. That's a
Yeah,
good
well, I
time
had
to-
already
it's a good
talked,
time to
I
do
had
it,
talked
so.
to him when they were doing the measuring, and when they were doing the measuring, he had informed me that they were gonna stay 5 feet away from my fence. But now when I get the drawing, I see, it seems as if they want to go right to the line, which I ain't trying to take it away from them.
Yeah.
I thought they might be here this evening, and I was just looking for a clarification of what the idea was.
They might be on the phone. I believe the name's Orlando Alvarez. He might be on the phone and be able to answer that. This is showing it on the property line, so I assume this is showing it right next to.
Yeah,
the fence.
okay, well, I'm looking at the same thing you are, Dan,
Yeah.
and I just want to,
And we actually prefer that, because if you set it in 5 feet, it
Yeah.
starts making this where people don't know where the property line is. So if you do that 5 feet, then you take down your fence, and then.
yeah.
Even if it's not you.
I'm here, Dan.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, I'll let you,
Good evening.
I'll let you talk in 1 second, sorry. Then sometimes we can have people like plant stuff there, and then
Yeah.
the next neighbor comes in.
Okay, well, I understand, and like I said, when they were measuring it, I brought it, you know, I'm very happy. He's got children, he wants that fence. I think it's great that he's putting the fence up.
Good.
I just wanted some clarification on the drawing I received and what we talked about. That's,
Okay. Mr. Alvarez, if you want to state, the chairman can swear you in really quick, and then you can make a statement.
Mr. Alvarez, can you go up there, please?
He's on the phone, so.
No, she's on the phone, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give to this hearing, or this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then please, Mr. Alvarez, go ahead and say what you've got to say.
Well, to answer my neighbor's question, I would rather, it would be great to use the same line Dan was explaining. I think that would be the best scenario for us. The 5 feet, I don't recall too much, but, you know, we might have still been trying to maybe kind of plan it out still, but I think using, I would hate to leave a 5 foot gap in between.
Yeah, I'll say, some people get confused with, because there's a 5 foot easement there, so some people
Yeah.
get confused if that's the property line or
Yeah,
if it's their
right.
property. So it looks like they're looking to put it on the
right,
property
that's
line.
all it is a point of clarification, and that's all I was asking. That's all I was asking. I got nothing against, can you hear me, Orlando?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All the luck to you on the fence. I just wanted clarification, because when you and George were measuring,
Sure.
George did say they would be 5 feet away. So when I received the drawing, and it shows it right up against mine, which I have nothing against, I just want to know what to
Sure.
expect when the fence gets up.
Sure. No, I understand.
Okay.
I think there was the easement there or something. But
Oh, okay.
going back to the electrical boxes, were you talking about the electrical boxes on the in the backyard on the ground?
The northeast corner, yeah, there's 2 utility boxes, one for phone, one for cable.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it would be, if we could leave them out exposed, that would be great.
Well,
if
if
that's an option, that would.
That would be up to you, but as Dan mentioned, then there's got to be you have to leave a panel for their access if service is needed.
Yeah, so you can do that by right, but just when you come in for the permit, you'll either, with a PVC fence, you can kind of have a panel that slides up, and it'll have to be marked, kind of, it's a slit, it's almost you can't see it unless you see it, it'll say removable panel on it, or you can do a gate into there, but because it's on your property, you'll have to allow some access to it. But that's up to you whether you want to include it in or fence it out and do that kind of gate or panel.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Alvarez, was there any other comment in that you wanted to make at this time?
Sure. I'll, in addition to what Dan said, I think our main focus for this fence would be, privacy and safety for our children and our dog. I think that's the biggest concern that we have. Because we're, like Dan said, we're along 84th Avenue, and then we have the side door where, for us, that's a huge safety concern for our young children that we have. So I'm just really hopeful that we can this is our hope. So thank you guys. Thank you all for, hearing our petition tonight.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, and thank you for hanging in the village or being a resident. Okay, Commissioner Vargas, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Alvarez?
No, I do not.
Commissioner Pastrick, same question?
None.
Okay. Dan, did you want to do findings of fact at this time?
Yeah. I'll go through them. The first one is, basically, it can't yield a reasonable return without the variation. This one's always the hardest one to meet, but it can yield a reasonable return, but basically the aesthetics of the neighborhood are helped out with the variation, and continuing to run the constant fence line down 84th Avenue. And that's kind of similar to the unique circumstances here, that you have a secondary front yard here that backs up to a block long of rear yards. That is that long rear yard fence line that runs along 84th Avenue. And then the variation doesn't change anything, any of the essential character of the neighborhood. And for that one, it's really that it's continuing the fence line that's out there, and it won't detract from the neighborhood overall. So that's it for the findings of fact.
Okay, I have a question regarding that. I noticed that some of the easements on the property are listed as drainage easements, so Public Works had no problem with the drainage running as is, and there's going to be no obstruction caused by the fence. Is that correct?
Correct. They'll review the permit too, but typically there is no issue with a utility or drainage easement with a fence.
Okay.
Correct.
Does anybody in the commission have any questions about the findings of fact?
None.
No.
All right. And I think we're in good shape here. How about we get a motion to close the hearing so we can go into discussion and a vote?
Commissioner Vargas, so moved.
Commissioner Poshchik, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the hearing. May I have we'll do a voice vote. Is there any objection to this close? Okay, hearing none, then the hearing itself is closed and we're open for discussion. And hearing no discussion, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the variation.
Commissioner Poshchik, I will make a motion to recommend the village board grant a 24-foot variation to the petitioners, Orlando and Olivia Alvarez, from Section 3J fence regulations of the zoning ordinance to permit a 6-foot-high privacy fence to be set back 1 foot from the west property line and encroach 24 feet into the required secondary front yard where a fence encroachment is not permitted at 8350 Cloverview Drive in the R3 single-family residential zoning district. Consistent with the list of submitted plans as attached herein, and adopt findings of fact as proposed by village staff as listed in the November 12, 2020 staff report.
Okay.
Commissioner Vargas, I second the motion.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Paschik, seconded by Commissioner Vargas. Madam Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Poshchek,
Yes.
Vargas,
Yes.
Chairman Sepisi.
Yes. Okay, it appears the motion has been carried. Mr. Alvarez, are you still on the phone with us?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to let you know that your motion passed unanimously, so that it is going to go to the village board at the December 1st meeting, at which you are welcome to be present. You don't need to be, but you're welcome to be there. At this meeting, because your motion carried unanimously, your request will be voted on, or read for the first time and voted on at that time. And that's really all I have to tell you. The meeting is right there in the Village Hall at 7 p.m. on the 1st of December. And thank you for your time again.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
And
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I'll follow up with you on how to attend that, or you probably won't need to call in or anything, and you can just watch it on YouTube the same way, unless they have a question or something, they'll call you. So, but I'll follow up with you on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're up to the good of the order. Dan, what do you got for us?
So I'll start with the newest work happening in Tinley, just as an overview. Tinley Park Plaza, which is Waltz, Dollar Tree, that plaza. So you'll see demolitions going all out over there. And so that was a plan that went to the Plan Commission a couple months ago. And you'll have a new grocer going in there that's unnamed so far. And then Burlington's going into the other space, and I think that's been announced on their website, so they'll be moving over there to a new location, staying here in Tinley. So they're kind of remodeling then the facade as well on Tinley Park Plaza. So it'll be a whole new facade going to the north from those two new tenant spaces, and redoing the parking lot and kind of the circulation in the site. Putting a sidewalk on Harlem Avenue, so there's a lot of good things happening there with that project, and we're good to see some vacant space and redevelopment there. So, Avocado Theory in the downtown is also underway. You'll see most of that building was taken down, but not all of it, and then they're starting to put walls back up there. So that'll be a mixed-use building with Avocado Theory, a restaurant that'll take up the first floor. They've already planned to have an outdoor patio and everything with garage doors that roll up. I think that'll be a good addition to the downtown. South Street, I think most people, the Boulevard, also called the Boulevard, most people can see that happening every day. And it looks like a real building now, so they have the brick going on the exterior materials, plumbing, windows, and finishing up the roadway. So that won't be finished until spring, summer of next year, but it's coming together, and hopefully we'll have some announcement of a tenant going in there in the near future as well. So besides that, hopefully we'll have appointments, some new appointments here to the ZBA as well. So obviously we're running kind of tight with only 4 people, and so hopefully we'll have at least a couple more new members in the next meeting or two. There should be an appointment. So that's all I got.
All right. Commissioners, do you have anything that you want to speak on for the good of the order, or just general news?
Commissioner Poshchik, none.
Commissioner Vargas, none.
All right. Well, then, being that there's nothing there and nothing from the audience, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Commissioner Poshchik, so moved.
Commissioner Vargas, I second that motion.
Okay, the motion made by Commissioner Pitt, by Commissioner Vargas to close our meeting and do a voice vote. Is anyone opposed? Hearing no one opposed, the meeting's adjourned, and thank you all very much for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.